To make more money, you gotta trade in your time, in a sense, you know. So you gotta trade in your family to get more, you know. And
I can't remember what the book was called, but my wife and I listened to a book one time, and the whole point of the book was how time is actually the most meaningful currency that we have, right?
Okay.
Because in order, like you said, in order to make an hour of money, I trade an hour where I'm not doing other things, right?
Right.
So if the only way to make more money is to spend more time working, which I'd argue in this day and age isn't always necessary, but let's just assume that it is, then you're trading that time against doing other things, i.e. spending time with your family, or your wife or whatever, right? And that's the sacrifice that you're making for those extra dollars. Unless you can figure out a way to do it more efficiently, to where those dollars come in without you having to sacrifice. I think the universe is designed in a way where nothing substantial is available to any of us without some form of sacrifice. So for example, if you want to be a black belt at jiu-jitsu, you have to sacrifice 10 years of going 3 days a week, right?
Minimum, huh?
Minimum. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you gotta sacrifice a ton of time in the gym, a ton of crappy food, alcohol, time with your friends. It's no different if you want to be exorbitantly rich. You probably had to build a bit, unless you inherited it, you probably had to build a business that at least took 10 years. And, you know, it's 50 to 100 hours a week with a ton of risk and not a ton of short-term gain. So yeah, I think if money is your goal solely, it's no different than anything else. You're gonna have to sacrifice a bunch of shit to get it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Like we were talking about earlier, it's like, really, for us normal people out here, really what we want is, we don't want to stress about bills. And we want to be able to have cool experiences with our families and have a couple nice things, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't think you're looking to have a private jet that says Dr. Barber on it.
No,
right?
I don't think so.
That'd be pretty sick though.
Yeah, it would be nice.
You could do all
It
your
would be
haircuts on a
nice.
jet.
Yeah.
So once you have those basic needs met, above and beyond that, it's gravy. And you might not need to sacrifice your relationship with your kids anymore.
Yep. That's very true. And what do you think about passive income? Do you think at some point it just keeps coming, or you always have to sort of manage that thing so it keeps coming? You know, because they say passive income is like something that generates you money while you're sleeping, but you still got to work at it, right? To keep that coming.
I think there's forms of passive income. Like truly passive income, to me, there's not as many forms of it as the internet may tell you. For it to be truly passive, like a lot of times people think of like being a YouTube creator. I have passive income, I'm making 10 grand a month. Well, that's not passive. You have to put out a shitload of content, and it's got to be good. And you got to change with the times and constantly be innovating. A better example of passive income would be like, let's say you wrote a #1 song, right?
Okay.
And for the next 30 years, you get a check in the mail every month for the royalties from writing that song. That's passive because you did the work like 30 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, passive income in that sense is great. Or like, maybe you made an investment that pays off, you know, you get an interest payment every month. You already made the investment, you don't need to do any more further work. That's truly passive. It's amazing. But people throw around the word passive income a lot, where I don't actually think it's passive. You have to work a lot to maintain it, right?
Right.
There's not very many ways around actually doing the work.
Yeah.
You're gonna either have to do it up front. So like going back to the example of the song, you may have wrote that #1 song, but you probably had to write 10,000 songs before that, or 1,000 songs before that, to even have the capability to, and then not to mention all the connections you would have had to made, all the producers you had to talk to, all the other writers you had to collaborate with. So you had to put in 10, 15 years of work just to write that #1 song. So even that #1 songs, yeah, the income itself is maybe passive, but you still had to sacrifice something to get that passive income. There's, to my knowledge, unless you win the lottery, there's no way to just have money appear out of nowhere for no sacrifice.
Yep. You gotta get after it.
You have to put the work in and make sacrifices.
That's true. Yeah, I think social media does say a lot about passive income and how easy it could be, and like how it seems like you don't got to put work for it, but I think it's a continuous thing, right? You just got to keep that coming back. You got to keep working for it.
A lot of the social media influencers that are talking about that are usually talking about real estate, and they're usually talking about buying investment real estate like apartments or condos or long-term or short-term rentals. But even that, like, okay, it's still, you still have to make sacrifices and work to get the amount of money that you would need to invest in those things, right?
Right.
And then you still are going to have, it's not totally passive. You still got to deal with all the maintenance issues. You got to deal with all the tenant issues. Like, it's still a job. It's a stressful job. There's no way around it. It's what you put in, you get what you put in. There are people that are really smart that can figure out ways to make it a lot more efficient to where they don't have to work as much as us that just have to put a bunch of blunt force into it.
Yep. But they still got to get it.
But they still got it. At some point, they still had to work. Put in the work.
Yep.
It's like a fad diet, man. Like, if you want to lose weight, you can go take Ozempic or do some fad diet, but it's not going to necessarily stay off, which should be the whole point of losing weight, is to keep it off. Or you can change your lifestyle as a whole, which takes a shitload of work, like we were talking about earlier. You got to learn how to work out and stay disciplined. You got to get your diet in check, learn how to grocery shop, learn how to read labels. Like, it takes years to figure it all out.
It does.
It's sacrifice.
And it always looks like overnight success, right?
Of course.
When people got it. It's like, wow.
Of course, yeah. Where'd that come from? They must have just stumbled into it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty rare. Most millionaires are, I think, over 55.
I saw that too the other day. Most of them are older in age. But it seems like there's a lot of 24-year-olds or 20-year-olds that are millionaires
If you
now.
listen to Instagram, that
Yeah.
should be the case.
Yep.
But I think just from a data perspective, it's over 55. And you got to imagine, if you're 55 years old now, right, in 2025, that means that you probably started working when you're, 18. So that's 30-some years of work to become a millionaire.
Yep. Damn, that is a lot of continuous
It's a lot of work.
grind.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people that they don't train a martial art because they believe that people use guns now? Like, what's the point of training if you're not going to use it? Is that just them trying to make an excuse not to train?
Well, I think they were fed some misinformation on what martial arts is and what it's for.
Okay.
I think self-defense is at least a few steps down the ladder of priority of what martial arts is for. I think it's an added benefit. I don't think it's the 100% point of it, because most likely you're never going to have to defend yourself anyway. Okay. Most of us never will, hopefully, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Martial arts is much bigger picture about discipline and self-improvement and humility than it is about self-defense. Self-defense is an added benefit. That's the way I look at it. Like, I didn't go to jiu-jitsu to learn how to kimura somebody on the street. You know, like, even like the real tough guys say, you should just run away anyway. Like, you shouldn't be getting into a fight or a conflict unless someone's trying to take the life of you or your family. But even in that case, like, those people are right. I have a gun, right? So I'm not going to triangle them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to shoot them.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to do that either. So I look at it as a way to improve myself. Because when I go in there, and like last night, dude, I got just hammered.
Got worked, huh?
I got worked. And I walked out of there, I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, it's great for the ego, man. It's great for the spirit. It makes me want to go in there and work harder and do better. It's a great workout. It's community. It's new friends that are trying to do a hard thing. Has not a lot to do with a belt or self-defense.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of times I go in there and I do feel very sad walking out of there.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh, I suck at this.
Yeah, I feel very sad, man. Very heartbroken. And it's like we keep coming back though, you know?
Yeah. Pretty addicting, you know?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I see it as like the people that say that they probably just very comfortable with how they're living and they don't like to be uncomfortable. They don't like to be put in positions where they have to use their head, their brain to find a way out.
People have fragile egos, man.
Fragile egos.
But like we were talking about earlier, yeah, discomfort isn't very attractive to most people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the only way to life's wealth.
Yep.
Not money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I get pretty bored when I'm not challenged.
Okay. You just feel like you're living average, huh?
I feel like I'm just not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm not signed up to grapple, to train, I feel like I'm living very average. And it's okay for like a month or two, but after that it's like, I gotta do something.
Yeah.